Hooday, Bengals fans. This is the Bengals Pulse, the heartbeat of your Cincinnati Bengals. I'm Eric. I'm joined by the Mon, the myth, the legend, Mon Abulhassan. And before we get started, we're here to talk a lot of Bengals news, but before we start, we got to celebrate our Mon. Mon's birthday today. I think he's 37 years old. It's been a rough 37 years, but man, he's still got those genetics. Mon, how you doing?
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, this premature gray. You're right. It's been stressful being a fireman, but it's tough being 37. But you know what? I'm moving right along. I wish I was 37. I wish it. Thank you very much, Eric. It's been a great birthday. My daughter, my wife have been so good to me these last few days. They've gone above and beyond, and it's been a great birthday.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think I've been a Bengals fan for 37 years. It's about right. So, 37 years of Bengals fandom, it definitely puts a lot of grays on you and yeah, a lot of premature aging for sure. So, uh,
Happy birthday to you, so Mr.
hey, okay.
Douglas.
And
Hey, all
another
right.
all right. Listen,
Hey, man.
got to be good if you're born on the same day. Absolutely.
Princess
Let's
Diana's birthday. Rest in peace. Canada Day. I think Dan Aykroyd's July the 1st. I mean, we're
hey,
cancer babies. Come on.
yeah. Anybody that shares the same birthday as you, it's like that Step Brothers meme where it's like, did we just become best friends? You know,
Yeah.
one of
Yeah,
the,
that's
the
right.
the craziest things is Ace and I share the same birthday, so it's like obviously that's why we're diehard Bengals fans. You know, anybody born on that day is got to be smart and have good taste. So.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
uh we weren't sure if we were going to do a show for you guys this week. You know, there's not a whole lot going on, but we said it before, we'll say it again. We're going to talk Bengals whether we're on camera or not. So we thought we'd come on and talk about this stuff. We're 68 days until Bengals football, and I think we're like 64 days until real NFL football. So we wanted to just chat about some of the stuff, what hasn't happened, what has happened. Mon, what do you want to talk about? I know you wanted to talk about Trey and Shamar a little bit. Any news that you're hearing? Any rumors? Any speculations? Anybody that's down at Kroger saying that Shamar is there buying extra strawberries because he's got a new contract? What's going on?
I haven't heard anything about that. Remember when Lyle Collins was about to sign his contract with the Bengals? He's at the Kenwood Mall. Everybody's taking
Yeah.
selfies with him, and no, I haven't heard any of that stuff. Just from the national beat guys, and you sprinkle in what's happening with TJ Watt. That's getting a lot of Bengal fans upset because the way the national media is covering Trey. But Trey did go sort of self-inflicted. He did go on national TV himself and sort of get that drama stirred up a little bit on McAfee's show. So I think it's still going to get done. It might be right up until training camp. I don't think he wants to be a distraction. He had his yearly football for the kids. He's in Cincinnati now working out. He's doing his fundraising. So, he definitely wants to be here. He wants to be a good teammate. I think that gets done, hopefully for at least two. Maybe that third year could be an easy out. Shamar Stewart, I don't know. I am getting a little nervous on that. I still think he's going to be a productive pro. I think somebody with that talent profile and his work ethic, he's a nonstop. I remember the draft profiles that I read about him. I think he's a can't miss player. I really do. A lot of people think I'm crazy. I think when he gets on the field, he's going to produce. He's going to produce at a high level, and the Bengal fans are going to forget about what's happened in the summer. They really will. They're going to fall in love with this guy. We just got to get him signed because he's going to be a star player. We need him to be a star player, and I think that's going to happen.
Yeah, it's so frustrating because the one knock on him was he didn't have experience. They called him raw. He needed to get in there. He needed to work. And then they go out and they swing for the fences and try and add this out in their contract, to get out of the guaranteed money. And that's great. They probably tried to do it last year and we didn't hear about it. Maybe they tried to do it the year before. But it's just like read the room, Bengals. You drafted someone that was raw, that everybody questioned because he didn't have the sack production in college, and they said he had to come in and get all this work. And it's like the Bengals were tone deaf in the fact that they got to fight for this, and they're not backing down. He's missed a lot of opportunities to go out there and get hands-on experience, and you're just shooting yourself in the foot. And you can't do that. We're going to talk about it here in a little bit, but they've relied a lot on the draft and they're relying a lot on this youth, and that's fine. But when you do that, don't hamstring yourself even more by go on and having a contract dispute and keeping this guy off the field. I know Demetrius Knight still hasn't signed. A lot of the second round picks haven't signed. Demetrius Knight is out there, so testament to him. Thankfully, he's doing that because we will need him to be out there and impacting as well. But it's frustrating, and I'm nervous, but I really hope that they can get it done before training camp because he needs every one of those reps. If he loses those reps to Osai and Johnson and whoever else is out there, we could be looking at another first round pick that's not starting. And when you're drafting that high, he's got to be out there.
Yeah, he does. And I just want to go back a few episodes when Dan Horde was on. You mentioned Demetrius Knight. He was really high on him. He thinks he's going to come in and make an impact right away. I hope Dan Horde is correct. All these rookies from the 2025 draft class, they are going to produce, but they're going to have, some growing pains. And we have to expect that. And we have to, there's not much we can do about it. I think this Bengal defense, around week 7 or 8, we're going to see what they really are. I think these young guys, even the draft picks from 2023, 2024 that haven't played a lot, I think we're going to see, them getting experience and getting better. And hopefully this team can get up in the 16, 17 range in total defense. I think that would be great for the Cincinnati Bengals. I was thinking about this today. We're talking about Shamar. We're talking about Trey, and we should. I get it. It's the big story of the offseason. Let's talk about McKinley Jackson. Let's talk about Chris Jenkins. Let's talk about Cedric Johnson. Those guys need to take the next step. They need to come in and produce a lot. They did show flashes last year. Chris Jenkins played with one hand for half the season. He had that hand broken thumb. He had a club there. I expect him to make a significant jump. I think McKinley Jackson is going to turn out to be a really good pro. He showed big-time flashes, especially the Tennessee game where he caused a fumble. He's very quick. He's a big body. The Bengals need that. I expect him to be well. And Cedric Johnson, his athletic profile last year when the Bengals drafted him late in the draft, he has a lot of tools in the tool shed there. And I think he could turn out to be a great situational pass rusher. We need the 2024 class to take another step. Guess what? I need the 2023 guys. I need DJ Turner. I need Dax Hill. I need all these guys to come in and produce at a high level. It's essential for these Bengals. It's essential. We know what Joe is. We know what Chase is. We know what Higgins is. We know what Chase Brown is. Now we need these defensive guys to come in and start producing. AFC North is stacked. And right now, the 2025 season, it's dependent on the 2024 draft class, 2025 draft class to produce at a high level.
Yeah, so I think Jackson and Jenkins are definitely going to get a lot more play. I mean, we saw them thrown into the Wolves last year, and they did well. Even playing with the club on his hand, he performed well. I'm not as worried about that defensive line because we got to see it from them last year. They weren't amazing, but they were solid players. They made some good stops when it came in. We got BJ Hill back. We signed Slayton. We're going to be better up front. I kind of question whether, okay, if we get Stewart signed and we get Trey back, and we say if, but we better get him back. If you don't, then that is absolutely malpractice. But when we get them back, you also have Joseph Osai, who's in an approve it year. You have Miles Murphy, who's absolutely has to step up. I have a hard time seeing where Cedric Johnson's going to get a lot of rotations in there. Outside of these guys being injured or these guys not signing their contracts, Cedric Johnson's Cam Sample, are they going to really have that opportunity? I think it's best for us if they aren't given the opportunity to step up. But do you see them finding a place in the rotation where they really can contribute?
Yeah, they're going to have to, and it's situational football. We talk about that all the time, Eric. I just follow me on this one. Strawberry Ice, Jeff, his show today, he was talking, and I shared this, on one of the comments. The Bengals had 27. Sorry about that. Let me turn this off real quick. The Bengals had 27 team sacks last year, 27 and a half. Do you think, this is my hot take, I think the Bengals can get to 50 this year. I think they have to get to 50. If the Bengals got 48 to 50 team sacks on defense, guess what? My defensive backs are going to play a lot better. They're going to get some interceptions. They're going to get some turnovers. They're going to make life hell for those opposing quarterbacks. And guess what else that is? That tells you the Bengals are ahead, and these pass rushers are just teeing off and going after the quarterback. I think Mon's hot take, the Cincinnati Bengal defense will get 50 sacks this year. They're going to get 23 more than they did last year, and that's going to lead to a big year for this team. I really think it's going to happen. We have the pieces. Miles Murphy, it's his time. Shamar Stewart, it's his time. Cedric Johnson, it's his time. They have two of our last three draft picks have been first-round picks have been defensive linemen.
Yeah.
So it's time for them to step up. They've invested a lot of draft capital in them, and I think the Bengals can get to 50.
Yeah, hearing that number that we had, you said 20, 27 or 23 did we have?
27.
So when you say 50, that my head thinks, oh my God, that's crazy. We're going to go from 27 to 50. But I just looked it up real quick. The team leader was the Broncos was 63. The 25th place had 36. So we have to significantly improve our sack numbers to compete as a defense. So to take a jump, if we get to just 40 total sacks, we are now the 16th best pressure defense in the league. And I'll die on the hill that we don't need to be top 10. We need to be top 20, and we're Super Bowl bound.
Yeah. You know, it's not just sacks. Of course, sacks are very important. Pressures is production. Quarterback pressures is production. If they can increase that, I wish I had that number. If anybody in our chat has how many pressures that the Bengals have last year, let us know. If they could get 30, 40 more pressures throughout the season, that's huge. Guys, complementary football is huge. I talk about rushing the ball. If the Bengals could run the ball a little bit more, not turn into the Ravens, I'm not crazy. I know that will never happen. But if they could get 300 more rushing yards a year, I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but that's an extra minute, 2 minutes per game. That's an extra minute, 2 minutes per game that Mahomes or Lamar Jackson's on the bench. That helps your defense out, especially a defense that's trying to figure it out, trying to get these young guys some experience. They're going to need some of that complementary football early on until they get dialed in and feel that confidence to be an everyday starter. That's what I'm talking about. Situational football will help this team. And my prediction, I'm going to stick with it. I have them 12-5 this year, and I really think it's going to happen.
I mean, the schedule's right there. If we get through that murderer's row, it's right there for the taking. So, you know, it
Bruce said
it's
they
doable.
had 27 sacks and 55 total pressures. We need to increase that. We need to
Yeah.
increase that. We need to get that. We need to get those total pressures up significantly. And Warren Sharp, I want to talk about him in a few minutes. Without Trey Hendrickson last year, the Bengals were dead last in quarterback pressures. And with him, when he was playing, that number improved dramatically. We need more than Trey Hendrickson. That's where it's huge for Miles Murphy and Shamar Stewart, Cedric Johnson, Joseph Osai. It's huge for these guys to have a big year. They have to
Yeah.
produce, and it's essential. If they don't produce, it's going to be a tough year.
Yeah. I I think people are. I know people are talking about it, but think people are glossing over Joseph Osai. I really think, yes, we have Shamar Stewart, but I really think this is a Joseph Osai breakout year. Surprisingly, he signed an extension with us. It was only a 1 year, but surprisingly, he signed, even though he has David Mulligetta as an agent. I think this is Osai's year to go out there and ball out, and it's a contract year. He's going to prove he's going to go get that money from someone else. He's just got so much motivation. We've seen flashes. We saw flashes towards the end of last year. I think he recorded at least a half sec in many of the last few games. I really think that it's going to be. Trey Hendrickson, Osai, Stewart are you're gonna be your top three producers. And if everybody else can follow suit, great. But it's just that contract year, that motivation for me, and the production to end last year. I think that he's going to be out there. I think Joseph Osai can get at least 8 sacks next year.
I hope you're right. And why are quarterback pressures and sacks so important? We saw in the Super Bowl. I don't expect the Cincinnati Bengals to turn into the Philadelphia Eagles of 2024, but we saw what a Hall of Fame quarterback looked like with that pressure. Pat Mahomes struggled. He struggled mightily. And pressures are a key. Sacks are a key. You've got to make the quarterback uncomfortable. And we play some great quarterbacks this year. We have to make them uncomfortable. We've seen these advanced analytic stats. Reading them earlier, they were posted on Twitter from Warren Sharp. Joe Burrow, under pressure, his quarterback average just drops a small amount when he's under pressure. When you look at Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and the other quarterbacks, it's a significant drop when they're under pressure. That's why I think Joe Burrow is just the toughest quarterback. He's an unbelievable processor. He knows what he needs to do when he's running for his life. And numbers are numbers. You see it in these advanced analytical stats from Warren Sharp. Joe Burrow is used to playing under duress, and he excels at it.
Yeah, and that's the thing that's crazy is we see these other quarterbacks' numbers go down by like 30% almost, I think was Josh Allen's numbers under pressure, and Joe Burrow's doesn't. And that just gives me so much optimism because he's so good under pressure, he's so good when he's given time, when he's not given time to process the field. When
Yeah.
when we step up and give him just 1 to 2 seconds more, it's lights out for this league because he's going to be just picking them apart. And I'm looking forward to that. I feel like our offensive line is going to improve. I think he's going to have more time, but I trust that when the play breaks down, he's still going to be able to find it.
Yeah. Eric, let me read something from Warren Sharp's
Sure.
NFL book that came out today on my birthday. And I'm not throwing shade on the offensive line. What I'm about to read, it's in praise of Joe Burrow. Before I read it, I want everybody out there to understand something. We know how Joe Burrow how productive he's been. We know what he's done as a Cincinnati Bengal. When I read these stats, this is why I think he's the best quarterback in football. I'm about to read some stats to you and think about the production he's had as an NFL player after I read these statistics. Okay. Joe Burrow has been sacked 164 times over the last 4 years. 164 times over the last 4 years, the second most in the NFL. Now, see this. Burrow has been blitzed at the lowest rate of any quarterback over that last 4 years. NFL teams blitz him the least amount out of any NFL quarterback over that 4-year period. Think about that. But no quarterback has been hit by defenders more quickly than Joe Burrow. Are you guys following me on that? Teams don't blitz the Bengals that much because they know Joe's going to kill them. Thank you, Bruce. I want those Dockers. Burrow has sustained 148 quick hits within 2.5 seconds of the snap, the most in the NFL. I know these are nerdy, advanced analytical stats. Burrow has sustained 148 quick hits within 2.5 seconds from the snap. That's the most in the NFL over that 4-year period. The next closest quarterback was Kirk Cousins at 119, Jared Goff at 104. Joe Burrow has been hit 25% more than the other quarterbacks. So basically, teams don't blitz Joe Burrow because they know he's going to burn them when he does that. But it just tells you the problem we are having on the offensive line. Teams are predominantly rushing 4 people, and they just can't slow them down. But
Yeah.
I'm not here to throw shade on the offensive line. We're well aware of those problems. It's a work in progress. But think about what our quarterback has done with those stats. It's unbelievable the production he has had and what he has done. he's the best quarterback in football.
Yeah, it's crazy. One, we know they don't blitz him because he burns them, but it's sad to see, you would think you have this advantage because they're not going to blitz your quarterback, but then to hear that he gets hit uh, within 2.5 seconds, 25% more than any other quarterback in the league, man, just give him half a second more and imagine what he's going to do. And yes, I'm the eternal optimist. I believe that he's going to have it this year, but half a second more, 1 second more, and Joe Burrow could be out there having that once in a generation type season because he's able to pick them apart so quickly. And you give him a little bit of time, he's not going to know what to do with himself. We saw in last year's game where he was scrambling around and Jamar Chase was way down the field and he gave him the thumb, from 40 yards down. Like that's what Joe Burrow is able to do when he has time or creates time. And that's going to be just a crazy season when he's able to do that next year.
Yeah. Sharp does a great job of breaking down one stat, comparing him to Mahomes. Burrow hit within 2.5 seconds on 6.2% of his dropbacks. That equals to 148 total quick hits. Number one in the NFL. He's been hit the most in that 2.5 second range. Patrick Mahomes, 2.5 seconds he's been hit on 2.3% of his dropbacks, which equals to 65 total hits. So Joe Burrow has been hit 148 times. We're using that metric. Pat Mahomes 65. Yeah, you know what? I know it's a hot take. A lot of people out there, Chiefers and Bills fans. I wouldn't want Mahomes. I wouldn't want Allen. All I want is Joe Burrow. That's my quarterback. He's the best quarterback in football. Those guys would struggle. Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes, Jordan Love from Green Bay. I don't care who you are. If you play behind the way the Bengals offensive line has played the last few years, they would crumble. They wouldn't be MVPs. Joe Burrow's best quarterback in football. Prove me wrong.
And then nobody's going to prove you wrong here because it's true. We've watched every single Bengals game, and unfortunately, we watch a lot of Ravens games, we watch a lot of Bills games, we watch a lot of Chiefs games because they're often either we're on prime time or they're on prime time. So we do see a lot of those games, and just the pocket presence, the awareness, the mobility, just knowing who's going to be open and who's not going to be open, and the situational awareness to know that sometimes I got to throw it to my guy even when he's not open. There's no quarterback in the league that has that. Yes, Mahomes has the ability to run back 30 yards, really play Madden, scramble around, run forward, toss it up there. But he's not picking apart defense. He's basically just running around, improvising as much as he can. Lamar Jackson, phenomenal at recognizing that the play is broke down and understanding that my legs are more of a tool than anything. And I think in the last few years, he's really added the fact that almost a bluff sometimes. Yes, we know that he could take off and run for it, but he's added that little layer where, okay, I'm going to take off, but I might still throw it. I think that's what got him that MVP season. But nobody processes a play. Nobody has the situational awareness like Joe Burrow. It, you know, we're I really feel like we're in that time of the season where we're walking around, we're knocking on doors saying, "Do you have a moment for me to tell you about the great and wonderful Joe Burrow?" I feel like that's where we're at now, but I don't think that we're going to ever have to regress from that this season, barring injury. I feel like it's just this is the season that he's going to be take that step into the MVP discussion where it's really hard not to give it to him. Uh, I'm
Yeah.
I'm stoked for it.
Yeah, I mean, what he accomplished last year, this is broken record time here. We say it all the time. What he accomplished last year, statistically wise, it's astronomical. I mean, it was
Yeah.
special. And I mean, for us to win 9 games with a defense that was in transition that struggled, I mean, there's no other way to say it. I mean, they really, really struggled. They did pick it up the last few games of the season. They did play better, which was a positive thing. Hopefully that continues. But Joe Burrow made us interesting. He made us relevant. And this team will always be at a minimum. That's our floor. We are always going to be in the hunt. All right. We just need a better supporting cast. We know that. We need this defense to improve. I hate saying average defense. I want my defense to be better than average, but I'll settle for average in 2025. In 2026, I want them to be very, very good. I want them to be a Super Bowl caliber defense. But baby steps, let's get
Yeah,
two, three more wins. And you know what? When you get into the playoffs, guess what? Everybody's 0-0. Nobody
for
cares about
sure.
your record. You're in the playoffs, you're in the tournament, and anything can happen. We saw that in 2021 when we were the fourth seed. We beat the number one seed in Tennessee. We beat the number two seed in Kansas City, and we should have won that Super Bowl, but we don't want to talk about that right now. Anything can happen when you get to the playoffs. Anything can.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So, uh, Paul Dana and the Growler, they had a good segment on, I think it was today's episode, where they were talking about going around the table and asking people for their breakout players. I know we talked about off air doing this, but I don't necessarily, just as I'm thinking about it, I don't think that we need any super breakout players. If our players play to the same level they played last year, obviously Jamar Chase had a transition, had a great year. Um, Joe Burrow had a great year. Chase Brown played great, but I don't think we need any of those players to step up and even be better. I think that they will, but I want to kind of put it on you. Not really necessarily looking up for a breakout player, but what players do we need to be just good? They don't have to break out, in my opinion. Maybe a solid breakout, where they go solidify themselves as a starter. They don't have to be a superstar, but what players jump into your head that we need to just be a reliable player for this year
Okay,
to have success?
I'll give you. I mean, this may sound easy. We're copying Paul Daner's podcast. It was a great discussion. I really loved it.
Was.
Charlie Goldsmith. It was one of his better pods, and he has a lot of good ones. Whether I'm going to get to your question in a second. I'm going to address that real quick. The offense does have to get better. As good as they were, I think they have to be better at closing out games. But at the same time, you have to admit something. We played a historically bad defense. If our defense was just a little bit better, we should have won five more. We should have won three more games by 14 points or more. I mean, it's. I get what you're saying, but it was one of those. It was a bonkers, crazy year for the Bengals last year, and I agree with a lot of what you said there. I'm going to give you two players that I think need to take another step, and one of it might be a captain obvious, like, oh yeah, I'm on, okay, whatever. I already mentioned one of them. I need Chris Jenkins, who was a second round pick, to come in and be an impact player. I don't expect him to be a 10 sack guy. He's not going to be a Larry Ogunjobi, but I want him to come in and get some of those pressures. Bruce said that they had 55 quarterback pressures last year. How about him giving us 8 or 9 quarterback pressures and maybe 5 sacks? That would be great. He's a great run defender. I need him to take another step. And another guy, yeah, we were happy with his play last year, but guys, he had some lumps also. I need Mims to take it to another level and be a shutdown right tackle. I need that. And I that's what I'm looking for. I want those guys. They're high draft picks. They're supposed to be cornerstone players for this team for the next 10 years. I need them to start showing that in year 2. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah. Yeah. And this, uh, G. Lou points out too, this is just how crazy the NFL is and how crazy last season one was. 2 field goals, and we were at 11 wins, and we were in the playoffs, and then who knows? It's game on. I I don't think that we need any real breakout players. Like I said, I just think we need players to take those starting jobs. They don't have to be superstars, but we need Cam Taylor-Britt to get back to his form. Uh,
Good one. That's a really good
and
one.
Cam Taylor-Britt back to his form. And then obviously we need somebody at right guard to step up and give us 10% more than what we got last year. It doesn't have to be amazing, but 10% more. In the right guard position is probably not as crucial as left guard because Joe can see those guys that are in front of him. But we want Joe to be able to step up in the pocket. You don't want to have to see him do his Andy Dalton and run around and run outside the pocket. Um, so like I said, I don't think there's any people that we need to be superstars. Now, if we get some superstars that develop, it would be really, really nice because then you've solidified with some talent out there. Uh, the other one that I think is the big thing, Geno Stone. We're rolling with him for one more year. We need Geno Stone from Baltimore. Now, they did point out, I think it was on Dan Hort's podcast as well, Geno Stone had 4 interceptions in the second half of last season. He led the league with, I think, 7 the year before. We just need Baltimore Geno Stone, and I'm hoping that Al Golden's defense is going to free him up to be that reactionary player and just to play free. And if we get 25% more out of Geno Stone, that could equate to another win or two as well.
Yeah, they mentioned that on Paul's podcast. Charlie Goldsmith brought up a good point. Uh, he sounded like Jake from the Bengals Pulse. Charlie said the biggest unknown for the Bengals in 2025 is safety, and he said that. He said that what Geno Stone are we going to get? And he was, a little. He pointed out some things. Geno Stone produced against some really mediocre quarterbacks. All right, so I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer, but those last 5 games we weren't playing Hall of Fame quarterbacks. All right, and Geno Stone did show it in Baltimore the year before with those 7 interceptions. Jordan Battle, I think, is going to be a great pro. My concern at safety is they're not overly athletic. All right, and that's a problem. Is DeJohn Anthony going to be able to come in and produce? Tyson Anderson. I like what Paul Daner said. He speculated, could they still make a move and bring in a veteran? I would not be shocked if they did that. One thing about that pod that I did like, I like how Paul, I think, brought up the fact about Al Golden. How much pressure is on Al Golden? Duke Tobin and the Bengals front office pretty much said, hey, you're in charge of this defense with pretty much the same players that Lou Anarumo had last year. Talk
Yeah.
about pressure. Talk about pressure. And so, what were they saying? I mean, Paul, everybody on their podcast said it. Is Duke basically, he's basically calling out Lou Anarumo. I got 9 defensive players that were drafted in the top 100 of the draft. They have to produce, and they do. Those are quality players, at premium draft picks. And it's up to Al Golden to get the most out of them. And I think he will. I think these players are too talented not to produce. Will they produce enough in 2025? I hope so. I hope so.
Yeah.
And I just don't want an average defense. I'll take an average defense in 2025. I need to have a very good to elite defense to get us multiple championships. And hopefully that happens over the next couple years.
Yeah, I mean, you strive to have a great defense. Like I said, average probably gets us to the definitely gets us to the playoffs, maybe gets us to the Super Bowl. But it's not just that. You want to know who you can walk away from and who you can't. And we really didn't know if we could walk away from Joseph Osai. I think we got lucky to get him back for another year to really find out who he is as a player. We have no idea what Miles Murphy is as a player. We have some idea of what Cedric Johnson is. He flashed a little bit, but again, he hasn't been out there as much. And we think we have a handle on our secondary, but is it Cam Taylor-Britt at the 2 position? Is it DJ Turner? Is it Dax Hill solidified as 1? We had a small sample size. He really, really flashed, and I think everybody thinks that he's cornerback 1, but he could be played in the slot more. And that was the detriment that Lou Anarumo did to Zach was you're sitting here with all this defensive talent that you drafted. You don't know if you need to pick up their 5th-year option. You don't know if you need to walk away from them. You don't know if you need to throw the bag at them. You got to put them out there and you got to figure it out because you're paying all this money to the offense. That's going to be the narrative for many years to come. So you got to figure out these young guys, who they are, if they deserve the bag and if they deserve to walk away, and you can't do that unless they're on the field. So I do think Al Golden, he's got to come in and he's got to save Zach's job because if we miss the playoffs again, you know, uh, it's not going to be pretty in my opinion.
No, it's not. I don't want to. I don't want that. I don't even want to go there. I don't want that to happen. If
Yeah,
if he has another slow start, his seat is a little warm. It's going to get
yeah,
extra warm. No, but Al Golden, he did a lot with Notre Dame. He's a good coach. Everywhere he's gone, he's had success. He won at Temple. I mean, Temple when he was winning there, I mean, Temple football, I mean, that's unheard of. All right.
Yeah.
And then he came to Miami. Things didn't work out in Miami, but a lot of that stuff, he walked into a hornet's nest there with investigations here and there, whatever. Al Golden's a good coach. I just want to harken back to an earlier podcast from another show months ago. They said this: the defense and the offense, interior offensive line play, it can't be as bad as it was last year. It's going to be better by default. All right. I don't like saying that, but they are going to be better. They really are. Hopefully, just not a little bit better. I want them a whole lot better, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
Gilu brought up a good point. TJ Slayton it was a big signing because let's face it, the Bengals were not a big team on interior defensive line. They had McKinley Jackson, who was a rookie, about 320. Everybody else is about 305 to 310 pounds. And I'm sorry, you need a really big bodied guy to occupy blockers to help your linebackers out. TJ Slayton was very productive in Green Bay. You got McKinley Jackson now. You got the undrafted free agent from Arkansas, Gregory, that's about 325 pounds. So we have some big bodies in there. And the defensive line needed to get bigger. They really
Yeah.
did. And I think that's a sneaky signing. I think he's going to be a good player. Is he going to come in and give you a bunch of sacks? No. But guess what? The last 3 years, we talked about the Bengals rushing attack. We're not a running team. Well, teams have run against us.
Yeah.
If we could trim, last year we did a lot better than the year before, but if we could trim 10, 15, 20 less rush yards against us a game, that adds up. That's huge. And that gets, our offense back on the field and forces those guys to punt. He's going to be a good player. We just need to stay healthy. Need to stay healthy on that defensive line. And you know what? We just need to be patient. This defense will get better throughout the season. And hopefully by week 7 or 8, we go on that run because under Joe Burrow, November and December, that's his time to shine.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, TJ Slayton, we lost TJ Reader last year, and it was a big loss, and so we need that. And the weather brought this up earlier too, and this is the big thing TJ Slayton can impact. We do need more third and longs. We got into too many third and shorts, and when you're in third and shorts, you're not going to get that opportunity to tee off on the passer. We need to be in third and long, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 14, so that your pass rushers can just tee off and go get them. And TJ Slayton can help us get there. I think it will be really good.
Yeah,
So,
I think so too. People were talking. There's been a couple questions about Money Mac that was talked about in Daner's podcast. I guess the big thing there with Money Mac, potentially they insinuated long snapper. He hasn't been the same since Kevin Huber's been gone. It's all about the delivery. It's psychological and all that. So we did sign a college free agent that's a long snapper, did we not?
yeah,
From Michigan. Yeah, we did.
the
So
best, yeah, the best long snapper in college for what is worth. But I was preaching that too. Ever since that we lost our long snapper in what was it in that Pittsburgh game. It hasn't been money since then, and hopefully either that competition sparks something and Cal Adamitis wins the job and is consistent, or we have an upgrade and we're able to have that money back. We need
yeah,
that. We need to be able to trot him out there at 51 yards and know that it's money. So
yeah.
I'm looking forward to see that. I'm looking forward to see the training camp. It's kind of nice that that's one of the few training camp battles. Like, what else are we going to look for this year? The long snapper competition. I think last year it was punter. Actually, it's been punter for a couple of years, but now we're going to be excited about a long snapper competition. And outside of that, right guard is the only other big competition that we're looking for. Um, with that, we're gonna close. We are all patiently waiting for some type of Bengals news, some type of football stuff. If news breaks, we'll jump in and do a show. I do want to ask you before we get out of here. The birthday boy Mon is going to be in Cincinnati this week, so anybody who sees Mon out there wants to buy him a beer, uh,
I like
hit him
that.
up. Mon,
I
Mon,
like
what do
that.
you do? What is your plans in Cincinnati outside of seeing family? Are you going to the Holy Grail? You going to a Reds game? What are you doing?
Reds are playing in Philadelphia this week, so I'm going to miss them. Yeah, I'm flying up Thursday. Got a big family reunion. It's in Covington, but I'll be on the banks probably on the 4th and the 5th. Plan on going to the Holy Grail to watch the Reds game at 1 o'clock on the 4th. If anybody wants, stop in and say hi, I'd love to see you. But yeah, I love it. I love going to Cincinnati. I'm going to be there for my wife and daughter. We're going to have a good time. A bunch of people that look like me. Hey, we're good people. Come up and say hi. I'm going to try to farm out some Bengal Pulse shirts. So
Hey, okay.
yeah, I'm looking forward. I love Cincinnati, but you know what? Can't wait. It's July. Mock Turtle Soup will be coming up here in about 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks, and that's going to be the official start to training camp. And I know we talked about players. Training camp is huge. What is Zach going to do to get this team ready week 1? I know they're practicing earlier. He says players are going to play in the preseason. How much are they going to play? I think that's great. I just think his camp needs to be more physical. One last thing. How many beat reporters over the last 3 years, in a joking manner, they have called Zach Taylor's training camp country club training camp? They
Yeah.
have said that. And you hear
Yeah.
it on their podcast, and they do it tongue in cheek. They do it in laughter. Is it really tongue in cheek? Because they talk about it all the time. So some little more physicality in practice would be good. So we'll see
Yeah.
how it turns out.
I mean, I think that's the way the NFL is now. There's not a lot that they can really do. It's all country club, but yeah, he gets the short end of the stick on that. Now, there's no Dockers here, but Brucey B did send a super chat your way for your beer in Cincinnati, so we'll have to earmark that for you.
Bruce,
And
you're the man. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And I will drink. Thank you. I'm going to have a good
as
time.
long as it's not a Zima, is Zima still a thing? What do you O'Doul's?
I've never been a Zima guy. Never. I'm a Coors Light guy, but I know that's not a fancy beer, but that's my beer, Coors Light.
Hey,
Thank you,
listen.
Bruce. I appreciate it.
We're Bengals fans. Coors Light, I'm a Miller Lite guy. I mean, we're Bengals fans. We shouldn't be out there drinking the fancy stuff anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Uh, with that, we're gonna get out of here. We will say we are finalizing our plans to be in Cincinnati for the home opener. I'm twisting Mon's arm, trying to get him and the family up there. We're hoping to get Ace, Sim, Jake. Maybe we can get over to Midwest Best, but. Mon's 90% that he's going, so we're trying to make it happen. Blow up his X profile, tell him he's got to be there, set some plans, do whatever you got to do. But we're gonna get the pulse there, and we're gonna do something fun.
Yeah, it's looking good for me to go. We'll see. I'm going to finalize that in the next couple weeks. I'm going to come back from Cincinnati and try to figure that out. But I didn't get to go to Cincinnati last year. I want to go to that home opener. I want to break that jinx, and I want to go to Midwest Barbecue and have that unbelievable food because hey, it's the best barbecue I've ever had. I'm sorry, Danny.
Yeah.
A guy I work with down here is a barbecue ace. This place is a little bit better.
Yeah, got to get those G Funk. And that hopefully we can do another live show there. It was so fun last time. Tim and Cole were had so much great food, but it was just a fun atmosphere getting to talk to Bengals fans and do one of these shows live. So with that, make sure that you like, subscribe, and follow us at Cincinnati Pod on X and Cincinnati Pod on YouTube. Like and subscribe. And follow the Bengals Pulse on X and on Instagram. We appreciate it. We're here for you guys, bringing you to our living room every week. Uh, it's very fun. I don't know, Mon, you want to say anything else?
No, yeah. Thank you. Appreciate you guys so much. And Ross, yes, I am going to get a waffle when I'm there. All right. I do every time I go there. Um, we appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching. And we'll see you guys next week.
Yep. Who day, everyone.